Hello people, it was a wise decision to come back to this video vlog to watch this second edition of Cold War A-Level revision. So in today's video I'll just be reading the second page of text from Edexcel's A2 level revision guide for the Cold War. The Second World War and the two superpowers. In spite of their ideological differences, the US and the Soviet Union were part of a military alliance, which also comprised Britain during the Second World War. This was known as the Grand Alliance, and was formed to combat the Axis powers. The war's impact was global. It led to the decline of the big French and British empires, and the rise of two very different superpowers, the US and the Soviet Union. The US in 1945. Harry S. Truman became US President in April 1945. He presided over the greatest military and economic power the world had ever seen. War production had created the economic boom, doubling the US's GDP between 1941 and 1945. The US had half of the world's manufacturing capacity, 3 times that of the Soviet Union. The US had developed the atomic bomb, which gave it an overwhelming military supremacy. The Bretton Woods Conference established the dollar as the world's principal trading currency. However, there were doubts and fears. The political leadership had been deeply scarred by the impact of the Great Depression, and felt it was vital that its policies stimulated prosperity for the world, but especially for the US. There was a fear that communist ideology might have great appeal for millions who lived in daily poverty. The Soviet Union in 1945. For the Soviet Union, the picture was very different. The war had led to the death of 27 million people, the destruction of 1,700 cities and towns, the destruction of much of the country's industrial and agricultural infrastructure. It's also worth mentioning that, even though it's not mentioned here, much of the Russian industry was moved to the Urals during the Second World War to protect it from the Germans. And the Germans, when they were heading back to Germany, used a policy of destroying everything, so destroying all the farms and industry and the rail tracks. So this did save Russian industry, but it was located in a very obscure place where it would be difficult to use it in the Urals. So let's continue. However, the Soviet Union had several advantages. It had played the biggest role in defeating Hitler, and therefore was guaranteed a major role in determining the post-war settlement. It had the largest army in the world. By 1945, the Russian army comprised of 11 million men, and women obviously. Between 1945 and 1953, the Soviet economy was the fastest growing economy in the world. Stalin's objectives for the post-war world. Stalin wanted to guarantee the security of the Soviet Union from foreign invasion. Initially, he spoke of peaceful coexistence with the West. At the same time, Stalin was willing to guarantee Soviet security by ensuring Soviet dominance over Poland, which had been an avenue into Russia for invaders, keeping Germany weak, and extending Soviet territory and influence in Eastern Europe, which led to the creation of the Soviet sphere of influence, the Eastern Bloc. Also down here there's a key interpretation, which is Stalin's aggression, which I'm going to read very quickly. Some historians argue that Stalin's policies in the years following the Second World War were the main cause of the Cold War. From this point of view, Soviet determination to create a sphere of influence in Eastern Europe can be interpreted as a sign of Soviet aggression. Further evidence for the view comes from the willingness to eliminate leaders such as Masaryk in Czechoslovakia, who of course had a very mysterious death where he fell out of a window. Obviously he was murdered, but there's no evidence. His actions over Berlin in 1948 can also be regarded as an attempt to coerce the West into accepting the Soviet plan for the future of Germany. According to this interpretation, the US played a largely reactive role, and it was the aggressive nature of Soviet foreign policy, that brought about the Cold War. Notably, this interpretation overlooked Stalin's commitment, until 1947, to peaceful coexistence between the superpowers. Now, there's going to be another video on the next page very shortly, so stay tuned. And also, if you'd like to see a few slideshows which I've made, just visit Cold War Learners, and there'll be a number of slideshows. So just keep learning. Good luck. See you next video. Thanks for watching.